Welcome to Bebus Channel's English section. I'm Imtiaz Patel, Varediawala. I'm one of the hosts of the English section. Bebus is brought to you by the Community Media Centre Bolton, UK. And as the name suggests, it is the channel for communication, it is the channel for conversation and our interaction with community members and with each other. It's about our voice, it's about our communication, and it's about our conversation. And Bebus belongs to everyone, ladies and gentlemen, and I would very much like to welcome you to this program called Hello, Can You Hear Me? It's a discussion program around political affairs, what happens at a local level, national level, and we will be inviting some guests so we can discuss political affairs on an international level as well. One of the reasons we have created this platform is to have the discussion so then we can go through in details with respective individuals, scholars, intellectuals, political representatives, social reformers, and we would focus on certain subjects, we would focus on certain challenges, certain problems, and hopefully we would interact with our intellectual people or the people who are expert in respective subjects and try to come up with some sort of solutions that would be useful and beneficial for the progression of our society, and it would hopefully it would be helpful to our listeners and to our viewers. So welcome to this program. We are very fortunate to have Mr. Mudasir, who is our Conservative candidate from Bolton. We did invite Labour representative Muhtarma Yasmin Qureshi Sahiba, but at the last minute, due to very unfortunately, she had to submit her apology, but she has given her commitment that hopefully very, very soon before the election, she would make herself available so then we can hear the side from herself and from the Labour Party as well. Just before we move on, we would just like to put you in perspective that the election are approximately 15 days away from now. And as a voter, we have certain questions and concerns in our minds and in our hearts. This is an opportunity for us to elect our representative. The question is, what are we looking for in the candidate? What sort of qualities we are looking in the candidate? Who aspires to represent us in the parliament or in the local council? Obviously, it has to be someone who is aware of our problems, who is aware of our challenges, and more than anything, who is connected with us actually. It has to be someone who will give voice to our expectations at various levels. At Bebus, our policy is to remain absolutely neutral. Our task is to bring the candidate and the voters together and to facilitate a dialogue and discussion between the candidate and between the listeners and the viewers. And this is the essence and the spirit of our democracy and open society. And we expect various candidates to tell us what their programs and agenda is and how they are going to implement those agendas and how they are going to achieve those agendas if they are elected, and to make our life and to make British politics better. We give medium to candidates, we give them a space to tell us why they think they can represent us as the best candidate, and then we leave it to the voters. So once you listen to the candidates' opinions, views, and where their party stands, we will leave that decision to the voters, which way they would like to vote, which candidate they think would be suitable and can represent them in the parliament or in any political arena effectively the way they want to. In this spirit, again, on behalf of Bebus, my name is Imtiaz Patel Varediawala. I'm one of the hosts of the English program. And on behalf of Bebus program, we would like to welcome to our listeners, viewers, and a very warm welcome to our parliamentary candidate, Mudasir. What would you like me to call you? Mudasir Sahab?
You can call me Mudasir.
Okay.
Mudasir's fine.
Is that okay? So welcome to this program.
Thank you.
And as I said that before we invited you, and we were hoping to have the representation from the Labour Party as well, but unfortunately there's nobody here. But having said that, we did a survey, what we call, and we found out that what people would be asking. So basically, I think Bebus is not about Imtiaz Patel or the Bebus, it's about the people. So we did a little bit of survey and we have got a list of questions. So I would like to ask you a list of questions which were given to us by our listeners, by our viewers, that if you do get candidates, these are our concerns, these are our questions, and see how you respond. So let me begin this program, Mudasir Saab, by asking that, can you tell us a little bit about your background in terms of your education, your childhood, and your early days?
Okay, well, I can start off a bit further back. My grandfather came to settle in Bolton in 1923. He was the first Asian to settle in Bolton, and he lived here all his life. My father's brought up here. I am born and brought up here, and my children are fourth generation Boltonians. So we've always lived in Bolton. This is our town, and this is where I intend to live for the rest of my life. And so that's my family history. I attended local schools. I went to primary school locally, secondary school, college, and I even attended the local university. So everything I've done has been very local, in the heart of the community, and that's how it's been. I'm happily married with 4 children, and I represent a ward called Bradshaw Ward, which is in the north of Bolton, on Bolton Council. I got elected to Bolton Council in 2012, and in a by-election, and I got re-elected last year with an increased majority. So I'd like to think I'm doing something right.
Okay. Well, I'm quite pleased to hear that you mentioned about you're happily married. Not often people would say that. They just say I'm married, but I'm so glad. And I'm sure that our viewers and listeners
I think my wife will be very pleased to hear that.
And your family members, and particularly wife, will be very, very happy to hear this. At least in politics, you're also enjoying your married life, which is great. Thank you for that information. I think the next question we would like to ask you on behalf of Beavers and on behalf of our viewers and listeners is, when did you actually develop your interest in politics, and why?
I think from a very young age. I remember sitting on my grandfather's lap, listening to the 6 o'clock news in the evening. So I've always had a very interesting outlook on current affairs, and I've always wanted to keep up to date on what's going on in the world. So that took place from a very young age. And then a lot of being the eldest grandchild in my family, most of my time was spent with elders, and I sort of would get in, listen to the discussions that some of our elders were happening, whether that was to do with politics in Britain or whether it was to do with politics in India or Pakistan. So I've had from a very young age, I was sort of had a strong outlook for current affairs and politics. And I think I always say my first political achievement was at the age of 14, when I convinced my parents to vote Conservative. That was in the mid-80s. And I am from a family, like most Asian families, where people have voted Labour for generations and generations. But I thought in the 80s, why are my parents voting Labour? Their lifestyle, their attitude to life, our home, the way they want to improve their lives, seeing my father work very hard, trying to improve his life and trying to improve the life of his children. I thought, hang on, there's something wrong here. They should be voting Conservative. And that's at a time when my father started getting involved in things like stocks and shares. And he was given the opportunity by a Conservative government that was privatising some of our national industries and giving back to the people what belonged to the people. And so that was at the age of 14, and my parents voted Conservative, and they have voted Conservative ever since.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, you are tuning into the program called Hello, Can You Hear Me? So we are talking to Mr. Mudasir, who is Conservative Parliamentary candidate. Beavers, if you would like to express your opinion, or if you would like to send us any observations, your thoughts about the program, or any questions you would like to pose us, you can ring us on our studio number, which is UK 01204 01204 435 825. You can also visit our website, which is www.britasianbuzz.com. You can also follow us, ladies and gentlemen, on Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp. We are so happy to have Mudasir in our studio talking about political affairs and why he is today kind of entered into the arena of parliamentary as a parliamentary candidate. Now, you said you had to convince your family member to vote Conservative Party.
I'm still convincing
back in
people.
80s. Back in 80s. What was the process about? Because you are absolutely right that traditionally, I think, inverted comma, South Asian people, ever since they came to this country back in either 40s, 50s or whenever, their natural kind of, I would say, if I may put it that way, their natural leniency was and has been labor. And then in 80s, you had to convince your family member. What was that process?
I think things started changing in the 70s with the ethnic minority communities. I think a lot of people that came from Uganda in the early 70s voted Labour and have voted Labour all their lives. So you can't say the whole of the ethnic minority community or the community from the subcontinent have always voted Labour. And I think a second change came about after the disastrous Labour governments of the 70s, where we saw things like the winter of discontent, all the strikes taking place, the unions taking over, and the country being left in the state it was. And I know at that time that people that had been here for generations, not newcomers, but people that had been here for 30, 40 years at that time, started changing their minds and started thinking about voting Conservative, started thinking about giving this lady an opportunity, the Iron Lady, an opportunity to govern the country. And a lot of positive things came out of that.
If you have to mention one point, that on one point you sold this idea to your family members, what was that one point?
I think it was about the opportunities that the Conservative government give hard-working people. And it's the same now. The cell that we have on the doorstep is the same. Look at the opportunities that the Conservatives give hard-working people. For example, in the constituency where I'm standing, since 2010, there's been 5,500 young people that have got apprenticeships. There's over 27,000 people that have had their taxes reduced. There's over 9,000 pensioners in Bolton South East alone that have had their pensions increased by £800. So it's about giving people opportunities and allowing them to do better, because when people do better, the economy does better and the country does better.
I'll come back to that in terms of your statistics and achievement in terms of different sections of the community, so it be elderly, young people, or for women. The next question we have got here for you, Mudasir, is that would you like to tell us about your contributions to community life? I mean, you have already mentioned that you have been very active since the age of 14, 15 in terms of political arena. You have become, you are still a councillor, I take it as.
Yes,
yeah. But apart from political, I know political work and community work go hand in hand, but what sort of contribution you have made to improve the community life where you live?
Well, I think, there's all sorts of big things that we can talk about, that the Conservatives have done. I think as a local councillor, it's often very fulfilling to work with a young family that, that need this smallest level of support to improve their lives, whether that's, referring them to an agency or whether it's a small neighbourhood dispute amongst people, just making people's lives that little bit better. That's what I enjoy most about politics. There's the big things, there's the big issues that we have. For example, I launched a campaign in Bolton last year for schools to fly the flag of the Union, and for children in this country, and especially in our town, to sing the national anthem at special assemblies. And I think, symbols like the flag have been hijacked over the years by the far right. And what I want to see, what I want to do in politics, is to make sure that these symbols of Britishness, and that includes all communities, our community as well, are taken back off the far right. And really, it's our children that are the custodians of symbols like the flag and our national anthem. So, that's one of the bigger programmes and projects that I've worked on. That motion was passed at Bolton Council, and there's a number of schools throughout Bolton that have implemented that fly the flag of the Union, that sing the national anthem at special assemblies. For example, it's St George's Day today. There's a number of schools that are hosting events around St George's Day. So it's about my politics is about bringing communities together. As an ethnic minority councillor and as an ethnic minority politician, I think it's my duty to bring all communities together, whether that's the white indigenous community or whether that's people that have come into this country more recently over the last 15, 20, 50 years. So I believe that I need to provide that bridge where communities come together, understand each other, get involved with each other's festivals, get involved with each other's sort of community spirit and community life.
But you mentioned about you being ethnic minority councillor. Would you prefer to be known as that, or would you prefer to be known as just the councillor?
Well, I would be look at the colour of my skin. You know, I'm always going to have this colour on my skin. So there's no going back from that. So I am an ethnic minority. I am of Pakistani origin. So you know, there's no issue with that. But I believe that I'm elected in a ward that is the whitest ward in Bolton. There is no other ethnic minority councillor, whether they're from India or Pakistan, that are elected outside an Asian community. I'm the only one. So that's why I believe it's my role to bring communities together, and that would be my biggest achievement locally.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have got Mudasir, parliamentary candidate from Conservative Party. Just as a matter of, again, clarification from Beavers that we did publicise this programme, that we would have two candidates in the studio. One would be from, of course, Labour Party, Mohtarama Yasmin Qureshi Sahiba and Mudasir. But unfortunately, due to some unforeseen, Mohtarama Yasmin Qureshi Sahiba could not make it to the studio, so we are in tune with Mudasir who is talking about his party politics and his vision for the constituency. My next question would be, or perhaps on behalf of Beavers and on behalf of our viewers and listeners, the next question here I have got is, can you mention three most important issues relates to your constituency?
Okay. Well, the town centre is one. The Labour Party have really ruined the town centre, and they've got further plans to ruin it even further. I believe that the Labour Party locally haven't listened to the people of Bolton. For example, we had a great market hall that was full of independent businesses. There was hardly any stalls that were empty, and that market hall was shut down a number of years ago, and that has caused real decline in our town centre. We're regarded as, I hate knocking my town, but I do believe that we can do things to improve. We can do things to improve things in the town centre, but unfortunately we've gone in the wrong direction. The council has been spending money on the town centre, but in the wrong places and on the wrong types of things. So that is not only my issue. You see, the thing is, it's not only about me; it's about the people's issues, and this is an issue that the people of Bolton have. Bolton town centre falls in Bolton South East. So listening to the people, that's a major issue. Another issue that people have locally is to do with the roads and potholes. It's a major concern for them, and a lot of people sort of say, there isn't enough money around in the public sector, and and the Labour Party would say we've had lots of cuts to cope with. Well, there's a reason why we've got those cuts. Because the Labour Party mismanaged the country for a period between 1997 and 2010. So yes, we have those issues, but we're the party that are having to cope with those issues on a national level. So that's the second thing. And I think the third sort of most important issue, and something that I am knocking on doors and telling people, meeting them at small meetings, is just look at the improvements that the Conservatives have made to our lives over the last few years. Even though we've had those public sector savings to make, unemployment has gone up, the amount of apprenticeships that are being offered to young people, the opportunities that exist. That's something that I feel is very important, and a very important message to send out there to the people of Bolton South East.
Right. Okay. That's wonderful. Just with due respect, in terms of wherever we discuss about politics and wherever we have these points about politics, the blame culture comes in, which is, I think, quite natural, and it should be. But you have mentioned about the kind of economical regenerations, and then providing more opportunities to local people, and of course bringing more prosperity to the constituency which you are hoping to represent. But under the current situations, I mean, whether we like it or not, but there's a perception out there that Britain generally is going through a very bad phase from every aspect, including economy. So where would the resources come from?
Sorry, did you say Britain's going through a bad phase?
Yeah.
We're the
perception. I'm talking about perception.
Yeah, the facts are, we're the fastest growing economy in Europe. We created more jobs in Yorkshire last year than the whole of Europe did. So there are positive things that are happening. See, we're the party of providing people with opportunities, and it's those opportunities that we're providing people, and helping them improve their way of life. Look, if somebody's on benefits, they shouldn't stay on benefits for the rest of their lives. We as a government should be providing them with opportunities of bettering their lives, and that's what we're doing through the welfare reforms that we've brought about, and that's what we're doing through the apprentices that have been setting up and the new businesses that have been set up.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching towards the end of the program. Still, I have got one or two questions which you have sent us on behalf of us, but you are listening to Hello, Can You Hear Me, our political program around political affairs. If you would like to submit your comments, suggestions, observations, or any questions for our guest, Mudasir, then you can send us that by ringing us on our UK 01204 435 825, and you can follow us on feedback, tweeters, and WhatsApp as well. My next question, Mudasir, is nowadays young people, we talk about young people quite a lot, and I think we have to in terms of they have futures, and they have they have lots of things to offer, positive things. But young people seems to be disconnected with a lot of activities, and I'm not generalizing here, but I'm just sharing some of my own concerns because I also work with young people, and we do have our own statistics and research which suggests that they are slightly disconnected with a lot of faculties in our society, and one of the faculty is politics. What is your take on this?
There's no doubt about that. Young people are disconnected, and they probably have the lowest turnout when it comes to voting at local and general elections. A lot of young people, I speak to young people all the time, a lot of them say we just can't be bothered. Our vote is not going to make a difference. But as you see, as people tend to get older and have families of their own, then there's more chance of them coming out to vote. So I would say people are sort of disconnected with the political system, and I think it's up to politicians to take that step forward to reach out to young people and give them the opportunity of getting involved in politics, because let's face it, politics is a thing that affects everyone, whether you're young or old, whether you're a parent, whether you're a child. Politics affects absolutely everyone. So it's only right that we, as politicians, jointly come together and get young people involved.
Okay. But do you have any programs? I mean, your explanation I perfectly accept, and I'm sure that viewers and listeners as well. But from the Conservative Party point of view, and you being a young candidate as well, do you have any programs in terms of how we can actually appeal and encourage and inspire more and more young people to come into not only just to vote, but I suppose to play a leadership role as well within the respective party?
First of all, thank you for calling me young. That's great. It's nice to hear that now and then. Secondly, I think the Conservatives have come up with some excellent programs. One of them is the National Citizenship Programme that we have, where 16-year-old school leavers are given the opportunity to go on this 6-week training course over the summer before they go to college or before they enter the workplace. And the first 2 weeks are spent planning of what they're going to achieve within their local community. The second two weeks are around implementing, and the last 2 weeks are around looking at the lessons that they've learned. So I think that's one of the greatest programs that we've come up with. It's a great opportunity for young people. I've been involved in it myself in my local ward, and through the Bolton Lads and Girls Club, who run the program locally for the government. So that's a great program of getting people involved in community work, in the community spirit, and then the wider program of politics. I think the Youth Parliament is another great opportunity that's been about for some years now, where young people are involved in national and local issues. One of the other things that is different now to when I went to school many years ago is the fact that a lot of schools, primary and secondary, have school councils. My daughter sits on the school council, and she represents her group, her class on the council, and she puts forward ideas of how young people's lives can be improved at school, what improvements can be made, big or small, just to make school a nicer, more pleasant place for young people. And that starts off at primary school level now. Last year I took a group of children from a local primary school to visit the town hall, to visit the mayor. They were given a guided tour of the town hall. That's that was a real eye-opener for them. They sat in the chamber, they sat where the mayor sits, and it was a really good opportunity for them. One of the other programs that I ran in Bury a few years ago was working with young people, and I took a group of 25 young people to the European Parliament to see how that operates. And I was invited by Sajjad Karim, who's a Conservative MEP for the North West. So I do have a bit of a contribution towards that area of work.
That's marvelous. Very quickly, I've got only one or two observations to make, and one final question is that again, if you look at it from the point of view of Asian community, and again, I'm here very conscious in terms of not patronizing any community, any individuals, or any section of the community, but we tend to see Asian models of politics in Britain at a local level, sometimes at a regional and a national level as well. And that is one of the points keep on haunting us when the election time comes, that inverted comma, we don't have that kind of, we would call a role model. Do you have any role model, or do you follow anybody in that way?
Yeah.
And what is your take in terms of how we can actually eliminate this, what we call the Asian models, which doesn't fit here in terms of the politics, and stick to what we call the mainstream politics, which is again politics of principle, politics of care, politics of respect, and politics of following the system and procedures.
Yeah, well, I disagree with you there slightly, because I think we do have some good role models within the ethnic minority community, and obviously within mainstream community. So they are there. We have politicians that are good role models. We have sportsmen, sports people that are good role models, actors, in media, across the board. There's people from ethnic minority communities that have done very well, and they've done very well not only in ethnic minority media, but in mainstream media. You look at the likes of Coronation Street, and you look at the likes of a lot of the Sky News readers or the BBC News readers, a lot of them from ethnic minority communities, and they're only there, not because ethnic minority, they're there because they're good. So I think that's the line that our community needs to take. Let's be good at what we do. Let's not be good ethnic minority sort of candidates, but let's just be very good candidates. And I think that's the thing that's going to take our community forward. I think that's the best way forward.
Okay, thank you. Last but not least, can you give our viewers 3 good reasons why they should consider voting for you?
Right. Well, the most important thing is I'm local. I've been born in this town. I've been brought up in this town. I went to college here. I went to school here. I went to school with a lot of the people that are possibly going to be voting for me. Bolton is very important to me. I'm not from outside Bolton, and I don't believe in the politics of travelling 100 miles, standing somewhere for election, because I would not have the same apathy with the local people that I went to school with, I went to mosque with. So this is my town. It means a lot to me. If Bolton was to improve, that's my dream. I'm in politics because I believe not enough politicians think that Bolton's or Britain's best days are ahead of us. But I sincerely hope and will always work towards that. So that's one thing. I'm local, and I think that's a very, very important thing for voter apathy. I think the second thing is that I've got a good story to tell. Even though we've had those difficult decisions of the cuts to make, I always say it's not in the DNA of politicians to make cuts. Politicians come into politics to do positive things for their area. So I believe that's what I want to do. We will do what we can, and we will manage this town and this country in the best way we can. That's why we're in politics. So there are good things to say. For example, the 5,500 young people in apprenticeships in Bolton South East. I want that to improve even more than it has done under this Conservative government. I want pensioners to be even more well off than the £900 increase that they have. I want lower taxes for the people of Bolton South East, and most important, the key word for me is opportunity, giving people an opportunity in Bolton South East. And the third thing I would say is, I'm a hard-working person. I won't let anybody down. Anybody that comes to me from whichever community they're from, they will get a good service from myself as a local politician.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to Mudasir. He has shared his opinions, his policies about his life and so on. So on behalf of Bebas, the only thing we can say is good luck and good wishes to Mudasir Sahib for his parliamentary elections. And now decision is yours. You have got the information, first-hand information. So we will leave the decision to you. Once again, many thanks to for coming to our studio and having this opportunity to have the in-depth discussion about where you stand in terms of your political arena. And thank you for watching this program. Hello, can you hear me? I'm sure that very shortly we will have another candidate, another guest coming to studio, and we'll go through the same questions and same patterns. So in order to establish, as we call, the informed choices for you when it comes to voting the right person and right party. Thank you very much. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, look after yourself. Take care. Bye.